Hello and welcome to a very exciting video where we will assemble the backpack and Gnombleberry in one fell swoop. I'm going to set aside the parts we don't need for the moment, which is everything but the arms. And we will need a yarn needle and a scissor. A scissor sounds so wrong. A pair of scissors. All right, so we're going to flip the brim up. I like to position both the nose and the arms so that the brim, especially the nose, rests under so that there's a bit of a droop. I position the arms a little lower. So we want to go ahead of the midline. Let's have a look here. I'm going to use a knitting needle for the moment just to see if I've got things right. So if I put this here and the other arm there, I say in the pattern to do about 24 stitches apart. So let's have a look. So that's about 23 stitches apart. One thing to do is to double check that your beard still fits on. We don't want the arms right up against the beard because we're going to need the backpack to also go against that. All right, so we're going to move this one back a little bit to there, and that will give us our extra stitch, and I believe we'll be centered then. Let's have a look. So I've got these two on that side. Oh, no. Okay, so let's center the beard again. We've got one there and one there. Okay, that's about right. So the most important thing is to let's flip that back down. So I'm going to pull this off, and I know that I'm going to be sewing it where the knitting needle is. If this will be a toy, you are going to want to sew the arms quite sturdy because they are often carried by their arms. So what I'm going to do now is, I still want to mark that spot. What did I do last time? Good question, Sarah. We'll be okay. I know, I'll do this, which is probably what I did last time. I'll mark that spot there. All right, so I want to sew them right at the edge of the brim, right there. And I like to come through the I-cord, grab some of the body, and repeat that a couple times in this direction. Then I go and I do it in the opposite direction, so slanting to the back of the gnome. If it's decorative, I'm done. If it's a toy, I flip it up, I pass the needle through, and I attach it also from the bottom, sort of in the armpit. And I go through it a couple times like this. Again, if it's a toy, I then knot this somewhere here. I make a knot, and then to deal with the end, you can either pass it up the I-cord or into the body. I'm going to go into the body, coming out somewhere. I'm going to pull it taut, snip it, and it just disappears into the body there. All right. So we're going to do the same thing again here to the other arm. They usually have a curve to them, and I like to choose it so that they're curving towards the front because, well, that just seems anatomically suitable, doesn't it? Arms on. Next is our beard. So we're going to pop this up. Like I said, I like the beard to be nice and high. It's not that gnomes of my design don't have eyes, it's that the eyes are hidden by the brim and the beard. So making sure that when we come down, we're gonna not see much of that edge. That's what I want. All right. So then I like to secure, make sure I'm centered. I like to secure the corners the same way I secure the arms. Going through them a couple times. And then I would just go up and down. Because we will be hiding this with the brim, we don't have to worry too much about disguising these stitches, and also because of the knit purl pattern, there's a lot going on visually, and so you don't have to worry too much with this one about getting things exactly right. When you come to the nose, obviously you have to fold the nose down, and you'll be working more in that cast on edge than anywhere else. Again, if this is a toy, I am much more careful and I sew down probably every single stitch rather than every 2 or 3. And then I come up here in the corner and I attach it once or twice at the corner. Tie a knot in it on the underside. Just kind of skim along somewhere to where you feel like, oh yeah, that's a good spot for a knot. Make a loop. I don't know if I showed this when I was doing the arm, but when I make a knot, I make a loop, I go through it twice, and I very carefully move it as close to the fabric as I can. And there we go, that's looking better. That one is a bit messy, but it's okay. I know it's on the bottom of the beard, and you can either just weave it across the beard if you want, or again, just jam it through the body for now and enjoy that side of toys, because the length of the end inside kind of gives you that nice comfort zone. All right, so we have our beard, we have our pocket, we have our arms. I should probably remove my beginning of round marker. What's next? What's next is the backpack. So we have our backpack and we have 2 straps. And we have a lot of ends, but we're going to use all of them. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to attach the I-cord ends to the top of the backpack. So let's do that. So as I mentioned, we are going to be using this end, so I'm just going to get it out of the way. I'm going to put it over here and off to this side so I don't accidentally sew into it when I'm going. And I am going to get that up and close, and then this is a lot like doing the arms. We're just going to do some whip stitches on the top, go through the I-cord through the top of the backpack. It will get tight, it will get it will resist a little bit, almost like you have too much yarn going on there. And then if you want, you can go through and attach then from the I-cord underside to the backpack. Again, if this is going to be a toy, you do need to do this. If it's not going to be a toy, you can be much less meticulous in just how many attachment points and how much security this needs. All right, now avoid the temptation to sew that in. We will be using it. I'll get the other one sewn in at the top there. What we're now going to do is we're actually going to sew the backpack onto Gnombleberry. So we need it while these lovely things look sturdy, and we could make them as sturdy as we wanted. Gnombleberry doesn't have real shoulders, and we can't truly bear the weight of a backpack with some stuff. You are getting to see the ugly truth of what happened to me. In particular right here, I had some problems, and the good news is that there are ways to fix this. I can go in with some of this yarn afterwards and just kind of do a duplicate stitch over that, but I thought I'd just show this to you to prove to you that Even professional gnomers can have problems. All right, so the trick here is to find which end is from the I cord and ignore those two, and then we're going to take this one. I'm going to center this, and we're going to look at our arms to make sure it is centered. So where are we here? So I'm about, okay, there and there. That does not look centered to me. All right, let's try again. Count stitches if needed. Once you're happy with the way it's centered, and do watch out that you're not counting like these side bits. You really want to count from the corner with the slipped stitches as the back. All right, so I'm happy with that. I want to push it so that it's right up against the brim. And now I'm just going to secure it with a knitting needle. Because if in all of this we're not also fighting with the backpack, we will be happier. All right, what we're going to use the cast on end for is to sew this section of the backpack onto the back. I am going to suggest that you go twice, once there, once on the way back. And you can just use a running stitch, so go down, come up. All right, so you want to go to the edge with the backpack strap. Again, making sure as you go to pull it up so it's up to the brim. And then we will turn it around and we're going to come back. I am using the naturally occurring stitches here to go up and down to hide the sewing that I am doing. But if you are worrying about how this is looking, I will reassure you that there is something that is going to be filling this backpack if you are still knitting this as a mystery knit along. So at that point, we are secured. We can go to the bottom and we can tie a knot, plunge it through, and go on with our day. Up next is getting the straps to the bottom corner. Make sure that it's the same corner as is at the top. Don't accidentally go to this back corner there. Just find the corner point and go through it, and your I-cord should very naturally go to the right spot. Then you can put it to the inside for when you're sewing it in, and sew it in at the bottom of the backpack there. So what's next? What's next is positioning these straps, and that's why we've saved these ends. We want to get them up and over Gnombleberry's shoulder, and we want to keep them there. Just doesn't look good if the backpack's always falling off. So got the arms up and over. If by some chance these are too short, you can stretch them out and give them a little bit of a puff with the steam, or even just spray them with a spritz bottle and stretch them, and they will lengthen a bit. So let's move this up for now. So what we need to do is we need to go with our yarn and our needle up into the I-cord to travel invisibly, stealthily up to the shoulder area. All right, and then how you tack this down is going to depend a little bit on how your spacing is. I'm going to suggest that you do at least a little bit of tacking to the top of the shoulder, a little bit of tacking to the front of the shoulder so that this, like if it's attached here but this is flapping, that's not going to look good. So here, here, and then you can also travel a little bit and just pin this down a bit. So top of the shoulder. Then we're going to go through the cord towards the front a little bit. And more than anything, I want this to lay flat so that when it's from the front, it's going well, so you can actually go into the body at that point. So come down, scoop a little bit of the body with you, make sure you're like that, and then you can scoop on the underside of the I-cord there. See how that's working? Yeah, that's looking good. And then, like I said, I want to make sure that this sort of stays in that spot. So what I'm going to do is, and again, depending on what you want, you can attach it under here, you can attach it in a couple places, but I am going to attach to the arm just a little bit. And then I'm going to slide my needle up along the I-cord. And then the last place I'm going to fasten it down is probably right here. I'm going to use this golden bit here to disguise what I'm doing. Feel free to play around with this. The nice thing about sewing in and attaching things, oh, see, I went too far there. The nice thing about sewing down and attaching is that it's until you cut the yarn, until you knot the yarn, you're not locked in. So you've got a little bit of a chance to like try something, stop, have a sip of tea, and then try it again and see what you think. It is, oh, don't slide out on me, and come on, we got this. Like I said before, so much of the personality comes in the finishing, and you don't want to rush it. You want to kind of go with enough pace that things just make sense and work. So that looks nice and tidy to me. That looks like it's going to stick around. It's going to be nice and stable, and it's going to look like a backpack strap actually attached and carrying the weight. One thing to think about is where you want the tassel to dangle. If you want it to dangle right to the front, you should put your first yarn in from that position. So you can kind of get a bunch of different looks. You can obviously go from the back. You could go slightly ahead of center so that it's hanging to the side, but only a little bit. I don't know what I want to do with mine. There are so many different looks with tassels. Kind of think I'm really tempted by the front and center look on this one. So I'm just going to do it. That's not how I did the other ones, but you know, that's the fun thing about doing multiple versions, is that you get to play around with different options. All right, so I'm just going to thread one on there and go through. And then what I can do is I can thread the other one on and go through in a different spot. And then we can knot them and get them nice and secure. And then after they're knotted, then we can just plunge them down into the hat. And that is a nice, simple way to attach these there. If you want to make sure your tassel is somewhere, you can then use this edge to go down inside and then grab from this sort of waistband area. You could tack it down if you want to be very decisive about where the tassel is going to be forever and ever. Otherwise, you can just plunge those two ends at the same time onto the needle, go down, come all the way back, And you can see I've just got a tiny bit of end to snip there. So, Gnombleberry, ready and waiting. I hope this tutorial really helped you, and I wish you very happy gnoming.